Hello YouTube family and friends, Aubrey here, and I am in the car with Matt, and I'm in the car with my mom.
Hi.
And we are going to do a very special Mommy Monday video. So usually I sit on my couch and do my Mommy Monday videos, but we're out and about this weekend because my mom is visiting, and so I thought that we should just go ahead and do this next Mommy Monday video in the car to save a little bit of time. And this video is going to be a very special video because it's going to be about Nicholas's labor and delivery. So since we were all there for Nicholas's birth, I thought we should all retell the story just in case we all have different perspectives. We can all kind of help each other remember some of the details. But this was a specially requested video, so I don't have that information with me right now, the person that requested it, but I'm going to go ahead and put their names right down here. So shout out to this person, these two people actually who requested this video. Thanks so much for the request. I appreciate it, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I went into labor on February 14th, and that was, let's see, 12 days before Nicholas's official due date. And we weren't expecting it at all. We were actually gonna wake up, Matt and I were gonna wake up and go to IKEA. Well, that didn't happen because I got out of the shower and I realized that there was like liquid running down my leg, and I was like, what's happening? Am I using the bathroom on myself? Like, I have no idea what's going on. But I realized that my water had broke, and I didn't realize like right away. I was like, oh, my water is broke. I was just like, I think my water is broke. So I told Matt, and Matt was like, I think you should call the doctor just to be sure. And I called the doctor and she said, yeah, you need to come on to the hospital. So we got all of our stuff. Luckily, everything was packed up. It took us maybe like 30 minutes to an hour just to get everything into the car. But we got in the car and I wasn't experiencing any physical pain or any really labor symptoms at the time. I wasn't uncomfortable. We just got in the car and we checked in, and I was thinking surely by the time we got to the hospital they would send me back home because it seemed like very early stages of labor. Once we got checked in, the nurse pretty much said I needed to stay because once your water breaks, you're at risk for infection. So I was like, okay, I guess we're here, ready to deliver this baby. And you know, I just didn't know what was going to happen at that point because I wasn't really feeling like I was in labor at all. But man, I was trying to remember, when did we call you, Mom? Do you remember when we called you? Had we already checked in?
Yes,
or did we call you on the way to the hospital?
I don't really remember.
I think we called you once we got checked in, and I knew that we were going to
be there.
Yeah,
I think so.
So what were you thinking at that time?
Well, I was surprised because I thought I still had 2 weeks. I had not packed anything, and I immediately went into mommy fast grandmommy mode. And I start packing, and your dad got a ticket for me so I could come out the next day. And then when I arrived, you were in the hospital. You and Matt were walking in the halls.
Yes, that's right. And I saw you coming
and
from the
then you
opposite
started
end.
Crying.
I sure did.
And I said, what's wrong? You're like, nothing, I'm just glad you're here.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning.
That was the beginning
of the whole labor experience.
And at that point I was having contractions, right, Mom? But I don't think they definitely were not the strongest yet of the contractions that I had during labor. But I was having little ones and they were spaced far apart. Matt, what were you doing at that time? I know you were with me in the hallway.
I was with you in the hallway when we were walking around.
You were the support system.
Yeah.
And I think at some point you had to go back home to like grab some things that we had forgotten.
Yeah, once your mom got there, I went back home briefly, but I probably wasn't gone more than an hour.
Right. Yeah, you went quickly. Okay, so what happened next?
Well, I stopped walking, and I think you went back to the room.
I went back to the room, and I don't think that the pain was really coming on that hard yet.
We were kind of just talking and relaxed, but hoping we were going to have a baby soon.
Soon, yeah. But
nothing was happening.
We didn't realize that we would be there for a while.
No, we didn't.
Because I was actually ended up being in labor for 2 days. I checked into the hospital on the 14th, and I had Nicholas on the 16th.
The doctor told us that typically once your water breaks, they want the baby out within 24 hours.
Yes.
That's right.
But that didn't happen. You weren't showing any signs of a fever or anything, so they basically just let you keep going. But the problem at that point became they needed the contractions to start because you're having them, but they weren't strong enough and they weren't progressing fast enough for what the doctors wanted. So that's when they started talking, I think, about putting you on Pitocin. So they did a At some point, I think on that first 24 hours, they put you on a test run of Pitocin just to see how you and the baby reacted. And then they gave you a break to see if things progress naturally, I think. That's my recollection of that first day.
That's good, Matt, because I don't really remember any of that. But he's absolutely right, though, isn't he? That's exactly what happened. So Pitocin was the only drug that I had. I had a natural birth other than the Pitocin, but that definitely got things going for me. And I'm trying to think when my contractions really started getting intense. It was probably that night.
Yes.
So I checked into the hospital. I don't know, maybe we checked in around 10 a.m. or something. And then we went a full 24 hours. So 10 a.m. again. And then maybe by that second night we were in the hospital. That's when my contractions got really, really painful.
Yes.
Because of the Pitocin.
Because of the Pitocin.
They just kept cranking it up. Every hour they would increase it.
Right.
The rate of Pitocin. And every time they did that, the contractions got worse.
Right.
Stronger.
Matt, you were monitoring that too on the screen, remember?
Yeah,
When the
you were.
contraction was coming.
Yeah. They had all the monitoring equipment hooked up, and you could watch on the graph the contractions as they happened, because the little line would go up and then it would come back down. And you could see those increasing in regularity and frequency and strength.
And Matt would walk me through those contractions. So as they came on, he would kind of let me know when it was about to peak. And then, as it came down, then he would kind of tell me, okay, it's ending. And that I found that to be really helpful as the contractions got stronger. So we were in this for a while, and I don't remember too much, honestly. I think when you go into labor, something happens to your brain where you kind of block a lot of things out so that you can make it through it. I don't know. But something I do remember is getting hungry at one point, and I wanted to eat. So my mom went and got me some chicken broth, right? That was a really good idea, because they said that I could have liquids. So I think I had some popsicles and some chicken broth or beef broth or something like that. But I know I kind of remember watching you guys, Mom and Matt, and I could just see on your face that it wasn't just affecting me.
Oh no, we were all in labor.
Yeah.
We were all in labor.
Definitely.
And Matt was the best coach, and we would tag team each other.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
But it was intense for quite a while.
It
And
was.
you were changing positions in the bed, and you wanted the bed down, and you wanted the bed up.
That's
the different
right.
positions. And remember the clock. Tell the clock story.
Oh, the clock story, yeah. So, okay, this is when the contractions were getting really, really strong. And I remember the contractions as feeling like someone was digging into my back and ripping my back apart. I had really bad back pain, back labor. So there was just a point where I had been in labor for so long where I was like, how, what time is it? How long has it been? So I kept looking at the clock constantly, and every time I looked back, it only seemed like a minute or two had passed. So we had to take the clock down off of the wall so that we could concentrate and just get through the whole, birthing process, because it was a lot. I mean, we were there for a long time, and I think the nurses came in at one point and they were like, where's the clock at? They were like, what time is it? And we were like, we had to take it down. So they're like,
okay.
Yeah, they were like, okay. Yeah. They were like, whatever works. But yeah, that's another thing. I had really great nurses who really listened to me and paid attention to my birthing plan. They didn't ever try to make me do anything that I wanted to do. But they monitored Nicholas's heart rate through the whole thing, and I ended up having to get a catheter put in so that they could monitor his heart rate, and that was pretty intense because they actually had to try twice. The first time the nurse was a little bit younger and she couldn't quite get it, but then they sent in an older nurse who had been working a lot longer, and then they finally got it. But that was a huge ordeal that I had to take a break. They were like, well, we want to try again. And I was like, try again. I was like, well, let me just get through a few more contractions before we try again, because I just I needed a break because it was so much. But Matt helped me get to that, and so did you, Mom. You guys were...
Yeah, we worked hard.
The purpose of the catheter, was to monitor his heart rate So I guess it attached to his head.
Right.
And then also to monitor the contractions more reliably, because they have another thing they can put on your stomach, but if the position's not right, it doesn't work that good.
I think Nicholas had dropped too low at that point to use the monitor that goes around your waist.
But the thing is, when you're on the Pitocin, they have to monitor his heart rate and your bio signs constantly once they start giving you Pitocin, which meant that you couldn't move around without the IV and the monitoring stuff hooked up to you. So it made like going to the restroom and stuff that much more difficult. Right. It was already difficult enough because the contractions don't ever take a break. Right. But then having all that equipment hooked up just made it difficult. Yeah. An ordeal every time you had to get out of the bed, which when you're in there for 48 hours, you have to from time to time. So.
Right, yeah, because I did have to get up to use the restroom at some point, and I remember that being really difficult because they had to, maybe I didn't even have the catheter in at that point, I don't remember, but I remember having to get up at one point to use the restroom and having to like unhook all of the stuff and take it to the, it was really hard, but some time passed and all of a sudden I got the urge to push, and like I knew at that moment that I was ready to push the baby out because it just came on so strong, like I couldn't help it. So the nurses came in and they finally said that I had dilated, and I was just like, oh, thank goodness, because they had been in to check so many times. They're like, no, not yet, but I just knew this was time. So they started bringing in all of the stuff for delivery, and it was really encouraging to see all this. So they brought in, the table or the crib that they put the baby in once the baby is born, and the doctor was there. And I know I'm missing some details, so maybe Mom and Matt can fill in.
It just seemed like it had taken so long to get to that point. Yeah, yes. It was almost discouraging because you're like, is this ever going to happen?
Right.
Like, they told us it would have happened by 24 hours, and here it is,
going on 48.
A lot longer than that, and at certain points you're like, well, she's progressing, but at this rate it's going to take all that much longer before she can even get to the push phase. So it was just draining to feel like it was dragging on and on and on, but actually towards the end your dilation progressed pretty quickly.
It did,
faster than the first part of it, so that part moved on. And then once you got to the push stage, which is what you're about to talk about, like from then on it just seemed like it went by extremely fast. Like it felt like less than an hour for me, although it was probably still several hours after that.
I know that when I got the urge to push, they had a student or someone who was studying to be a nurse, and they came in and they're like, we have a student that would like to observe your birth. And at this point I was like, I don't care, like anybody can come in the room, I'm just ready to push and get the baby out. So she came in, but I'm so happy she was there because, Mom, do you remember she ended up being so sweet, and like she held my hand during the process and was encouraging. I had little like inspirational cards up on the wall and stuff, and she would read those to me while I was pushing. But
you could tell it was a very emotional experience for that nurse.
Yeah.
The nurse had children also, so she really understood. She was very compassionate.
Right. Yeah.
You were, in labor, and I remember Matt and I had worked so hard, but we had those heat wraps that we put on our backs, and that is what saved us at one point, because I thought, I'm not going to make it.
Right. Yeah.
The lower backs.
The lower back heat wraps, please. If you're going to be coaching in labor, make sure you have those, because that strengthened our back and gave us a little energy.
Right. Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
Good point.
That was good.
So I started pushing, and I felt like I pushed for forever. I don't know how long I pushed. You guys want to take a guess?
I don't know how long.
I don't know.
Time.
At this point, my brain was just, I don't know where my brain went. But Nicholas was born at 7:52 a.m. in the morning, and something that I do remember was looking outside of the hospital window and seeing the sun come up, and that really encouraged me to push. I don't know why, but it was like a new day. It was, the beginning of him being born, and that was really encouraging to me. So he was finally born, and there he was.
It was all worth it.
It was all worth it. And it was an amazing moment, and
we were delirious.
And after that, we were sleep deprived and probably a little bit food deprived and all that type of stuff. But I was in the hospital after that for 2 days, and it was a very natural birthing process and everything. I was healthy. I healed quickly after that.
like a textbook delivery, actually.
It was just long. It was just an extended delivery. But after we left the hospital, it was weird, of course, coming home for all of us, I think, because we had been in the hospital for so long and kind of lost track of time. It was almost like we had jet lag or something.
Well, we were still sleep deprived too, because I remember I couldn't get sleep in more than an hour or two stretch before a nurse would come in. Because the nurses come in around the clock to check on you and the baby, and it's really helpful because you need things from them.
Right.
But you also need sleep, and that's hard to come by in the hospital. But I remember at that point I could go to sleep in like 15 seconds if I just laid down and closed my eyes.
Yeah.
That's how tired I was.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the labor and delivery story of Nicholas, for Nicholas's birth. It was definitely an experience, and you know, I'm not in any hurry to have another baby anytime soon. But yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat if I had to, because Nicholas has been wonderful, and we've enjoyed having him as a baby in the family. I'm going to add some pictures at the end of this video, so stay tuned for those. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comment box. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and we will see you Tuesday, tomorrow, for a vlog, and then Monday again for another Mommy Monday episode. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Have a good day.